My name is Latrice Slater, and I'm 33 years old.
The morning everything shifted, all I wanted was one simple answer. So, what's the date? Just the date of my younger sister's wedding. The wedding I'd helped plan, paid deposits for, rearranged my life around.
Nina didn't even hesitate.
It already happened last week, she said cheerfully through the phone. I only invited the people who mattered. The words punched a breath out of my chest, silently, like someone had opened a door in winter and let the cold rush through me. I swallowed. The people who mattered? Yeah, she said, impatient, like I was inconveniencing her. You're always overwhelmed at events. I was trying to help you by keeping it small. She hung up before I could say another word. A quiet ringing stayed in my ear long after the call ended. I dialed Mom, hoping, praying, this was some bizarre misunderstanding. Mom answered the phone too quickly, like she'd been bracing for this. Sweetie, the wedding was just for a few of us. The family decided your presence wasn't needed. The family decided my presence wasn't needed.
Like I was the coat they chose not to bring. Like I was optional.
My mouth curled into something that looked like a smile, because that's what my body has learned to do when my heart is breaking. A polite, invisible smile.
Okay, I said softly.
That's my sensible girl, Mom replied, relieved. It was intimate, no fuss.
No one mentioned that I was the one who paid the deposit, that the photographer's retainer came from my savings, that half the vendors had my card on file. I ended the call, washed a mug that wasn't dirty, and stared at my reflection in the window. Faint, ghost-like, almost see-through. Just like they treat me.
If someone wrote a book about my life, I'd be the chapter divider, not the chapter. Background person. Older sister. The one who shows up early, stays late, and never asks for anything.
My job in warehouse operations suits me. Predictable schedules, spreadsheets, a warehouse off I-84 that feels like a puzzle I know how to solve, pallet 48 missing, scanner 7 dying after lunch, shift swaps, broken boxes, problems that make sense. I live in a small one-bedroom with thin walls and a balcony that fits exactly one chair and a basil plant that keeps threatening to give up on life. I keep a whiteboard by the door. Bills due, errands. Tuesdays, call grandma. Fridays, check coupons. Life written in tidy squares.
People call me when things go wrong because I'm reliable, not because I'm someone they delight in.
Nina is the glow of the family. Dad says she has that spark. Mom calls her the sunshine girl. To them, I'm the tool drawer. Useful, forgotten, opened only when something breaks. Nina is 4 years younger, glamorous in every photo, talented at making her problems sound like emergencies I must solve. When we were kids, the good chair was hers for piano practice because the acoustics were better. In high school, I took the bus so she could drive the family car to rehearsals. After college, she'd ask for small help that quietly became medium, then urgent, then just until Friday. Another Friday that slid into Monday, and Monday that slid into next month.
And me? I always said yes. Because that's what older sisters do, right? We play the role written for us.
When Nina got engaged, I genuinely hugged her. She and her fiancé, Marcus, had that mirror each other's jokes kind of energy that looks cute in photos.
Mom bought a wedding binder with tabs. Dad promised, we'll all pitch in. The binder sat on the counter like a second heart. I said reflexively, just tell me what you need. I always do.
But slowly, subtly, they built the whole planning world without me.
A group chat named Nina and Marcus Wedding Brain existed, and I wasn't in it.
Mom sent me random forwarded screenshots as if that counted as inclusion. I was allowed in the lobby, not the room.
Still, I kept PTO flexible. Still, I rearranged my schedule. Still, I paid the invoices because the vendors. Only take Zelle and Dad can't figure it out. Venue deposit, me. Photographer. Retainer, me. City park permit, me. Floor design, fee, me. Every time Mom said, we'll settle it later. Later is a ghost word in our house. Always promised, never delivered. The night before everything broke open, after a brutal shift at work, I finally texted Nina. Me. Hey, do we have the wedding date nailed down? Need to plan PTO. Her dots popped up immediately. Then, Nina. Oh, it happened last week. My heart stuttered. Me. What? Nina. I kept it super small. Only invited a few people who mattered. She might as well have texted, you don't matter, Latrice. The fridge hummed louder. The basil on the counter drooped like it couldn't bear the humidity of the moment. I called Mom, my voice thin. and she confirmed it without remorse. The family decided your presence wasn't needed. Not forgotten, not accidentally excluded, decided. The choices behind that word felt razor sharp. I hung up, cleaned the spotless counter, and wrote a list in all caps. Go to work, don't argue, check all contracts. Because lists keep me from falling apart. I found the contracts, all of them. Venue contract holder, me. Venue balance due, before wedding, my card. Photographer balance, my card. Florist, my card on file. Planner. For efficiency, charges will be processed using the card and file, which was, surprise, mine. They cut me out socially, but financially, I was the backbone. The bank account. The dependable mule. They didn't want me there. They just wanted my card. That night, sitting alone with the buzzing of my refrigerator and the sad leaf of my basil plant brushing the window, something small and quiet inside me stood up for the first time in years. It wasn't anger. It wasn't revenge. It was clarity. A tiny voice whispering, no more. I didn't sleep well, but when I woke, the plan was simple. Remove my card. Redirect every invoice to them. Confront the truth calmly. Stop being invisible. Sunday brunch at my parents' house would be the line in the sand. Whatever happened next, I wasn't going to disappear for them anymore. Sunday noon arrived with the same heavy stillness as the moments before a storm. I dressed simply. Jeans, a clean navy blouse, hair pulled back, armor disguised as normalcy. Before I left, my phone buzzed. Evan, my boyfriend of almost a year, had texted, "You don't owe them your silence. Whatever happens, breathe. I'm here." I stared at his message longer than I meant to. I hadn't told him everything. Not the ugly parts, not the history, but he sensed enough to worry. "I'll be fine," I typed back. A lie meant to soothe him, maybe to soothe myself. Then I grabbed the slim folder from the counter, clipped the labeled index card, Sunday folder, to my keys, and walked out. Mom loves a curated moment. That's why the second I stepped inside their house, it smelled like a florist had cooked brunch. Wedding bouquets in vases, centerpieces on the dining table, a glittery bride and groom card propped perfectly on the mantel, a stack of tiny honey jars labeled Nina and Marcus, sweetest day. I paused at the doorway. All the decorations of a wedding I paid for. A wedding I didn't attend. A wedding I wasn't allowed to attend. Mom kissed the air near my cheek. "You look tired," she said, her coded way of telling me to be compliant, to not start anything, to keep the peace. Dad didn't look up from arranging bagels. "Nina, help your mother move the table," he called without greeting me. Nina appeared a few seconds later in a sweatshirt that said wifey, her hair in a casual bun that looked effortless and staged all at once. She gave me a quick nod, the kind you offer someone you vaguely recognize from a dentist waiting room. "Hey," she said. "Hey," I echoed. We sat. Bagels and lox were arranged like a magazine spread, fruit sliced with surgical precision. Mom's idea of a small family brunch. No one mentioned the wedding. No one apologized. No one acknowledged what had been done. Instead, we talked about the weather. I let them ease into the false comfort they always assumed I'd maintain. Then, when Mom was passing a platter of cucumbers like nothing was wrong, I laid my slim folder on the table. The sound, barely a whisper, still cut through the room like a snapped string. "I brought something," I said. Mom's smile wavered. "What's this?" "The wedding balances," I said evenly. "The vendors have been using my card. That stops today." The air shifted. Dad's jaw flexed. Nina sat up straighter. Mom blinked in disbelief. "Oh, Latrice, don't be dramatic." Dad frowned. "We said we'd reimburse you." "When I asked," I reminded him, voice steady. Dad opened his mouth, probably to deliver the same lecture he's given me since childhood. I didn't let him get a word out. "Stop!" He closed it. Nina scoffed. "We literally just got married. Can you not ruin our day?" I turned to her slowly. "Your day was last week," I said. "Today is mine." Her face flushed. Mom's eyes narrowed. She leaned forward, voice coated with sugar over steel. We kept it small to avoid stress. "You don't like crowds. We were protecting you." I felt the old version of myself, the agreeable daughter, the fixer, begin to rise, ready to smooth things over. But I pushed her down. "It's personal," I said. "You told me I didn't matter enough to be there. Then you told vendors I mattered enough to fund it." Mom flinched like I'd struck her with the truth. Dad pretended to study his coffee. Nina's lips curled into a smirk. "You're being petty," she snapped. "No," I said, sliding the folder across the table. "This is closure." Inside were printed invoices. Venue balance. Due immediately florals. Outstanding charges. Bar extension charge. Reversal filed photography. Remaining balance. Mom inhaled sharply. You froze your card? I did, I replied. Vendors can use yours now. Nina slammed her palm onto the table. This is insane. Mark's cousin did the DJ for free. People contribute to weddings. People contribute to events they're invited to, I said quietly. For a moment, the room fell completely silent. Mom stood so quickly, her chair scraped the tiles. If you walk out now, don't expect to come home for Christmas. I didn't even blink. I'm not walking out, I said. I'm leaving. Nina crossed her arms. Fine, we'll pay you later. Later isn't a date, I replied. Mom followed me to the doorway, her voice rising. You're ungrateful. I'm done being invisible, I said. Not loudly, just truthfully. Dad called after me as I stepped outside. You'll regret this, Latrice. The cold December air kissed my face, sharp and freeing. I walked to my car, heart hammering, hands trembling with a kind of power I'd never felt before. I sat in the driver's seat until the shaking faded. Then I drove home to my quiet apartment, where the basil plant drooped toward the window like it wasn't sure whether to survive or surrender. I understood the feeling. Fallout didn't happen all at once. It arrived in small sounds. Pings, notifications, alerts. 10:08 p.m. Planner. We need a new card on file. Me. Use the bride or her mother. 1:27 p.m. now. Venue unable to process payment. Me. Not me. Contact my mother. 2:02 p.m. Florist. Card declined. Me. Remove mine. Use Nina's or my mom's. 2:40 p.m. Bank. Alert. Attempted charge flagged. New card issued. Voicemails followed. Mom crying. Dad shouting. Nina demanding. I muted all of them. That night, I made a new list. Freeze credit. Update passwords. Remove family. Amazon ad alerts. Book therapy. Repot basil. And then, for the first time in I don't know how long, I slept. Not lightly, not restlessly. I slept like a switch had been flipped. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Family group chat. Mom. Ungrateful. Dad. Money isn't everything. Nina. You think you're better than us now? Mom. After all we've done. I muted the entire thread with a single swipe. My silence was louder than any reply I could have given. At work, I tried to bury myself in routine, scanning manifests, answering dispatch calls. But even Eli from returns picked up on my mood. You okay? He asked, raising a brow. Family stuff, I said, vague but true. He huffed a sympathetic laugh. Say no more. Want to borrow my noise-canceling headphones for your brain? It cracked the edge of a smile out of me. A small, tired one, but real. By noon, an email from the venue arrived. Billing updated. Congratulations to the couple. I stared at the screen. My hands didn't shake this time. They were finally paying their own bills. I clicked archive and let it go. That afternoon, my boss, Carla, pulled me aside. You've been sharp lately, she said. Focused, reliable. I want you leading the peak season schedule. It came with a raise. Small, but to me, it felt like a miracle blooming in the middle of a drought. I bought a bag of good coffee beans after work. The kind I usually feel guilty about. Not this time. On Wednesday, Mom showed up at my apartment unannounced, buzzing the door 9 times until I was ready to rip the intercom out of the wall. Latrice, sweetie, I brought a bakery box, she called through the speaker. Carrot cake, my weakness. I didn't buzz her in. Mom, I'm resting, I said through the mic. Please go home. You can't shut me out. I'm not shutting you out. I'm setting a boundary. There was a long silence, then the sound of her retreating footsteps. I sank onto the couch, exhausted but proud. Thursday, Dad texted a photo of my old softball glove. Do you want this? Translation, make peace. Let's sweep this under the rug. I stared at the message for a moment, recognizing the trap disguised as nostalgia. Me, keep it. No explanations, no apologies, no return to the old dynamics. Just a clean, simple line. Friday was my first therapy appointment. I walked into the room carrying years of being the family's responsible daughter, emotional sponge, and financial crutch, and set them down like heavy luggage. I think, I said carefully, that I've been paying admission to my own family. The therapist nodded softly. Let's talk about who wrote that rule and why you followed it. That session reshaped something inside me. I left with 3 new rules written in my phone. 1. Don't loan what you can't gift. 2. Don't sign for what you don't control. 3. No explanation more than once. I reread them on the bus ride home, feeling them root deeper with every passing mile. That weekend, Evan came over with a tall bag of soil, a new ceramic pot, and a small grin. You said you needed to repot the basil, he said.
Figured I'd help. We worked in quiet harmony in my tiny kitchen. He held the plant gently while I loosened the cramped roots. So much of it was tangled, suffocating itself, bending instead of growing. Look at this, I murmured. It was outgrowing its pot and didn't even know it.
Funny how that happens, Evan said softly, meeting my eyes.
We placed it in its new pot, bigger, sturdier, giving it room to stretch. For a moment, the two of us stood there staring at the tiny green plant like it held the blueprint of my entire life.
Think it'll make it? He asked. I think, I said quietly. It finally has a chance.
A few days later, Nina sent me $250. No note, no apology, just a cold mechanical transfer labeled reimbursement. I stared at it. A drop in the ocean of what I'd paid. But something interesting happened. It didn't sting. I didn't feel bitter or angry or hopeful. Just done. I logged the payment in a spreadsheet labeled Door Fund, a symbolic name my therapist suggested, a reminder that every act of self-respect builds the doorway into the life I'm choosing.
Weeks passed.
The family chat stayed silent. The noise faded. Their disappointment in me evaporated into something I couldn't even feel anymore. One evening, while watering the basil, now perkier, fuller, reaching toward the window, I realized something. This piece wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. My time, my money, my energy, my worth, my life.
Piece by piece, I had taken them back.
And standing in the dim light of my kitchen, basil roots settled into their new home, I felt it fully for the first time.
I was no longer the invisible daughter, no longer the family's ATM, no longer the easy target.
I was Latrice Slater, 33, rebuilt, and finally free.